Now that we've set all our applications we want to install, we might want to do some customization to the client itself. For instance, we might want to customize the start menu or to set some default application associations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by clicking create, and we're going to create a new application, but it won't necessarily be an application. We're going to call a script file. We're going to name this customize start menu. And if I could type, it would be better. There we go. And I will reference a folder that I've already created named Start Menu. And I will reference a PowerShell file that I've already set up. And let me go to the server. I'll click Save. And let me go to the server and show you what that is. And so over here, you'll see that I have a Start Menu and I have this Import Layout PowerShell file. I'm going to open this with Notepad just to make it easier to view. And you'll see that what I'm doing first is I'm importing a start menu XML, and you'll notice that I'm importing it directly from the CApp start menu directory. I'm referencing it because I'm referencing it on the client at the time, not on the server. So when this PowerShell file is run, it's run by the client. And when it's run, the client will have automatically had this start menu directory on it under C apps. So I'm going to reference it there. And then basically all it's doing is it's copying an Internet Explorer link to the directory it needs to. So if I look at this, I have that Internet Explorer link here, and I also have the start menu XML file that I'm referencing as well in that PowerShell file. I can look at this too. I'll go ahead and click edit, and really basically I'm just saying here's the different links I want. The main one that I changed was the replacement of the default files that are, or the default pins that are placed down here in the task tray. And I want to change those so I have a File Explorer link and that I have Outlook and Word. So I want to make sure that I run this after Microsoft Office has already been installed. Okay, if you want to know more about how to customize a start menu, go ahead and send us an email at support@smartimager.com, and we'd be happy to kind of go through how it is that you can customize a start menu. Keep in mind that certain different versions of Windows allow for different customizations. In other words, Enterprise and Education offer a lot more options than Pro does. Now that I've created my custom start menu, I'll click Save and Close. Another one I want to do is I want to do a default association. So I'll click Create and I'll say Change Default Associations. And here I'm going to be referencing my scripts directory. And, oh, I'm sorry, no, I've created a folder for it called Default Association, so I'll grab that folder, click OK. And then what I'll do is I will reference this install command and then click OK. All right, here I'm going to click Save, and I'm going to show you why I'm installing an install command rather than just calling it directly from the command line. So if we go over to the server again, and we go to our default associations and look at this install command, we can see that first I'm copying that default associations folder and the XML file in it over to the System32 directory, right? So I'm copying this XML over to the Systems32 directory. And again, I'm referencing it from CApps or from the location it is on the client. Then I'm running a dism command. And once again, I'm referencing that default applications XML file. So if we look at that XML file, you'll see that basically all I'm doing is I'm making sure that I have what the program ID is for that application and its name, and then I am referencing it with the different extension that would be called. So in this case, I want photos to open BMP files, etc. And you can go down the list and you can see the associations I've made. If you'd like to know more about creating your own custom default associations, just send us an email at support@smartimager.com. All right, so now that I've done that, there's one last thing I want to show you about calling batch files or calling install commands. and that is when you need to pass passwords. So I'm going to go ahead and click close here. Now the best way, hands down, to handle passwords or to handle adding new users or adding users into a administrator group, let's say, is going to be through group policy. Hands down, is the best way to do it. If, however, you can't use group policy, make sure that you don't pass a password in the install command. So let me give you an example. I'm going to add the help desk group, or help desk account, let's just say, to admins. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to add the help desk account to the local admins or the local administrators group. Now I could do a net user add here and add that account in with the password, but the problem is that that will show up in free text on the client computer. So if we go and look over at the client computer now, what we'll see is that in the root of C on the client computer, we have the smartImager log. And if we looked in that smartImager log and we had passed a password in here, it would be in free text. So that's something we definitely don't want to do. So what we do want to do, however, is we want to add that into a batch file and then delete that batch file. It's not the safest way to do it. Again, the best way to do this is through GPO, but if you can't use GPO, what you're going to do is something like this. You can reference, let's say, the scripts file here, and we'll click OK. And then in that scripts file, we're going to say add local service account.bat. We'll choose that bat file and click save. The next thing we want to do is make sure that we choose to delete all files after installation, because we don't want that bat file laying around. Let me show you what that bat file entails. If we go over to the server and go into applications and then look at our scripts directory, let's go ahead and look at that local account. We'll see that it uses the net user command and it's adding help desk, and then it's putting the password in plain text. This is really not a good way to pass a password back and forth, and that's why we don't recommend it. We definitely recommend doing it through GPO, or another way to do it is through your unattended XML file. But you want to be careful with the unattended file as well, and that is because the unattended file is not an encrypted file, it's only encoded. So passwords that you can't really read through there, that's not encryption, that's encoding, and you can easily get those out by just running them through an encoder. All right, so next thing it does is it adds the help desk account to the local administrators group. So in this case, we want to call this batch file. And now that we've called it, we'll click save, and we want to make sure that we choose to delete all files after installation. All right. The next thing we have to do is add all of these applications to an application pack.